77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
5 minutes past the hour, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience. Proudly heard here on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Great information as you tell us through all the emails that we get at drsky@wabcradio.com. And we do appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to join us in our form of the many different varieties of conversation, we love dialogue on this program. And if you're a new listener, no matter where or you could call from, remember, we talk about the great realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, celebrity guests in the mix, and also stories of American exceptionalism. That number to get in the queue is 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. And if you'd like to listen to, we appreciate the emails on those, the popularity of our podcast archive. Simply go to WABCRadio.com or RedAppleAudioNetworks.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it just doesn't happen by a host doing everything. So we thank Tony and Bill, our helmsmen of this particular show. What do? They navigate the powerhouse signal of 77 WABC across the nation, around the world, and I'm even confident, way out into the universe. Hope your evening is going well and your early morning as we move into your weekend, as we move toward the middle portion of July 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, in this particular hour, I'm sure you will be greatly impressed by the special guest that we have, and also another good friend of ours who will be joining us, who also does some interesting radio in the metaphysical, spiritual content world. We'll be interviewing and talking with him too. But first, ladies and gentlemen, what could be better than speaking with an individual who had a lead role in one of the greatest, in my opinion, sci-fi movies of all, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Dee Wallace, the American Film Institute claims, and they're rightly so, that's the 24th greatest film of all time. Dee Wallace is an internationally known actress, 250 film credits, 6 series, over 400 commercials, best known for her role as the mother in Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial. She has appeared on every major network and talk show, including Oprah, The Today Show. Miss Wallace earned her teaching credentials from the University of Kansas and has worked as a teacher in public schools and on her own dance and acting studios. Miss Wallace expanded her love of teaching and the principles she found empowering for children into daily sessions, a radio show, and 5 books. And her book and her work is based on the principles of accepting responsibility and loving ourselves early in life to create the life we desire. With that, a hearty welcome to actress Dee Wallace. Dee, good morning and good evening to you on the West Coast. How are you?
I am fabulous, and what a great introduction. Boy, you summed me up in my whole life.
Well, Dee, let me tell you, I'm going to just simply say as a humble host, thank you, because I'm sure throughout this hour there'll be many people that not only want to talk about your great movie career. It's summed up here, ladies and gentlemen, leading lady and scream queen, best-selling author, fan-favorite film, mom, and new grandmother. Congratulations. Speaks out on conscious and self-creation and achieving individual success and love in 2025. Dee, what could be more powerful than love, right?
Nothing.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
But I hope you don't mind by going back in time here just to talk briefly, and I don't ask you this, but I ask the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, where were you on June 11th, 1982? We go back in time and space because you and the rest of the great cast, Steven Spielberg's epic E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And Dee, I'm not just saying that because I love the movie. I mean, I've seen it so many times, watched, and I have in my collection, probably like many people out there, every iteration of every 20, 40-year-old, 40 years of celebration, everything on 4K, HK, whatever the heck they do. It's just outstanding. So talk a little bit about that before we get into the real heart and core of this, about the things you're doing, how to expand our minds and our bodies in consciousness and love. Talk a little bit about that experience with the movie. I mean, to me, it's just so amazing.
Well, thank you. And I don't think it was by any mistake that the universe brought that movie to me. I end up really in my healing work teaching the principles of that movie. And, creation is pretty simple. You keep your heart open, you stay in love, you get back home.
Yes.
And we experienced that during the movie. I remember going to the studio behind locked doors and reading the script because it was very secretive. And I called my agent and I said, I don't think this is probably going to do a lot for my career, but I think it's going to do a lot for the world. Wow. And I want to be a part of it.
Well, Dee, that's amazing. In case people are just tuning in, Dee Wallace, actress, and so much more, ladies and gentlemen, to share with you. Questions and comments, as we love. I always say this to the audience, Dee. I know you know it very well. We like to have dialogue because there's other kinds of communication. We have confrontation, we have debate, we have all that. But no, here we do the happy thing and try to get everybody on. So the number is 1-800-848-9222, and we'll get into not only the career that Dee Wallace has experienced here. And just in case folks don't know this, Dee, this is amazing. How could they not know? You were obviously Mary Taylor, the single mom in E.T. the Extraterrestrial, as we're proud to talk about. But wow, the wildest St. Bernard ever, Cujo. You were Donna Trenton. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that definitely was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, wow. That movie. And I'm very, very, very proud of the work that I did in that. And most people don't know that there were 13 dogs that played Cujo.
Wow.
There was a stuntman in a dog suit, but he really didn't. He rammed his head into the car because, of course, you can't ask a dog to do that.
Sure.
He did the big attack scene with me, and the real dog did it with the stunt woman. But the actual dogs did almost all the work, impeccably trained by Carl Miller, and they were all trained to go after toys. So they were wagging their tails all the time because it was a big joke to them, and we had to tie their tails down with fish wire because they were wagging them all the time. Amazing. So I just love telling that story because people go, oh, what? Really?
Yes. And the St. Bernard, I mean, people love St. Bernards, and they love all animals. I mean, my partner, Diana, who's probably listening, we have a beautiful little Bichon Maltese, and her name's Aurora. But on the larger side, boy, those St. Bernards, wow. And if I'm correct, I know this is way off topic, but I understand a lot of the heavier dogs, the larger dogs, they do get arthritis as they get older, a lot more than maybe some other dogs. That's what I understood. But then again, that's the story of Cujo. And the one, before we get into the spirituality side here, the movie that really disturbed me, The Hills Have Eyes, where you're Lynn Wood. That is the most bizarre movie. And if you know, I mean, you probably know the actor. I mean, the gentleman there who played that lead role in there as the bad guy, so to speak. That guy still scares me.
Michael Berryman. Yes. Yeah.
When I look at him today, I go, wow, what a role he played. Kind of like a Freddy Krueger on steroids.
Yes, and he is the gentlest, kindest, very incredibly intellectual man. We've shared a lot of experiences together, and but that was a tough movie. That was my first movie after a religious film. Oh. Which kind of sums up my whole career, I spend half my time doing horror films and the other half healing people from fear. And somehow it works really well for me.
You're doing, I'm sure, a great job on this, and that's, again, the emphasis of the hour. I mean, many people may want to call in at 1-800-848-9222, and, of course, they'll be enamored, I'm sure, by many questions about the movie roles. But let's transition to something that I think is so important. Your role as you are today, very, very active. The website, so I give it out hopefully correctly, IamDeeWallace.com, if that's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
And your podcast, this is interesting. Conscious Creation Radio Show. Please forgive me if I just stumbled that. Give us more on that. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I just passed, I think, my 900th show. Mm-hmm. I am a clairaudient channel. I hear messages. And my show, anybody can call in and talk about anything. Ask any question of the channel. It's quite incredible, the very definite guidance. It's, it's not a namby-pamby, oh, well, maybe this could be going on. It's really very definitive answers that the channel brings in.
Amazing.
And I love this work. I love this work. I feel like I'm giving back. I feel like I've been healed in many, many ways by teaching this work, because, when you teach, you learn, always, in any classroom. And you started out with the power of love. That's a lot of my teaching. I know from my channel, it says that love is the most powerful tool we have to create with.
Wow.
But we keep thinking of it as a little namby-pamby, oh, isn't it nice, he loves me kind of thing,
Yes. Well, Dee, I think I'll be learning something about this, because always humble here and honest. Maybe I need to learn, like many people. They have to tell their own story and just come to the table to, if they want to share their experiences during this hour. It's a short hour. But the question becomes this. When you talk about something called consciousness, we've had many people on here on this archive. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, you may know the name from Apollo 14. Very much involved in Noetic Institute, laughed at in many ways by his astronauts on the way to the moon and back, because he had these out-of-body experiences into a different realm. So simply, Dee Wallace, describe to us the most complicated thing that I have no idea what it means. To you, what does consciousness mean as we move on to talk about the love and the spirituality side?
To me, consciousness is awareness of energy. And we've learned in 5th grade, everybody, that everything is energy. Everything.
Correct.
So our ideas, our feelings, our perceptions, they too are energy. Energy is neutral. There is no positive or negative energy. It's neutral. It becomes positive and negative through our direction and our focus of our energy.
Yes.
So really, creating your life is being aware of what you want and focusing that with love.
Wow. Powerful stuff. I'm sure we can all learn something from this, not just the hour.
Powerful and easy.
Yeah. Well, then you make it sound simple, because many people, look, I can't, speak for anybody else other than myself. We all have these positives and negatives as we move through life. But what's really interesting when we talk about this particular subject, as you know, and not to be the scientist only here on the radio here, and to particular Dr. Sky experience, but the law of thermodynamics. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but moves to a different realm. So as you're talking about this, the positivity of that is that energy, obviously, in my opinion, goes on forever. What say you? Doesn't that make sense?
Absolutely. You never get rid of energy. You just change the form due to your focus and your perceptions, which come from your belief systems. And most people don't understand that your brain is locked in by the time you're 8 years old into your belief systems. So whatever you are verbally taught or modeled in front of you between conception and 8, that is what your brain says, this is the way the world is.
Yes.
And the danger there is that most of those things that we're taught were somebody else's belief system. I remember my grandmother, whom I was exceptionally close to. saying they're the rich people. We are the good people because we were very poor. And that also is a prominent religious teaching in a lot of religions. And yet in the good book, it says these miracles and more will you do also. And you can't do miracles in physical form if you define yourself as not powerful and lowly.
Very well said. No, very well said.
So we're in the process right now of really waking up. And you're seeing that in our world, in our politics, in our discussions. People are waking up to what do they really want. Because if you don't know what you want, you can't create it. What happens is there's a thing that an energy field around the universe called the ionosphere. And whenever you have a thought or a feeling, you shoot out, and the universe's job is not to measure it in any way or judge it. Its job is to match it. So if you have the belief, for example, I'm not supposed to be successful in my life, and you keep sending that out to the universe will do its best to hold success away from you.
Legendary actress Dee Wallace joins us. E.T., the extraterrestrial fame, of course, and so many other movies, film and stage. She's joining us for this hour here on the Dr. Sky Experience. Your questions in the form of dialogue and conversation, 1-800-848-9222. Dee, I'd like to bring in a good friend of mine, Richard Dugan, who does his own radio programs. I've known him for so many years, called Tell Me Your Story, more metaphysical and spiritual content. Good morning, Richard. I hope you're with us, and I'd like you to say hi, of course, to our guest, Dee Wallace. And let's talk, Dee, about your book, and I think this is fascinating, Bright Light, Spiritual Lessons from a Life in Acting. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. Good morning, Dee, as well. It's a pleasure
Richard.
to hear you.
How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Good.
I have been studying all of what you've been talking about since I was 17. I'm now 65. You do the math. And it is just fascinating. I wanted to ask you about something that crossed my mind as I was reading through some of the materials in regards to the work that you do, as you've been doing for so many years. There's so many different concepts, and I'll try to be very brief here. There's the law of attraction. And one of my guests once said that, they left something out, but they didn't do it on purpose. And that was that just because you want it, that doesn't mean the universe will give it to you, because it may not be for your purpose. Then you have another group of people that believe in prophecy and these kinds of things, and destiny. And so it's kind of locked into a script. Yeah. So I'm wondering how do you share with people to balance these concepts, or maybe get rid of some of them, in order to, and I loved what you said about you've got to know what you want in order to create it, how you get to that space, especially when we've all been taught, I was born and raised Catholic, to be a victim. It's either God that did it or the devil did it. I had nothing to do with it.
Okay, but Richard, then just stop and ask yourself, is that belief going to get me what I want?
Mm-hmm.
Well, is it?
Exactly.
No.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Okay, then you are here, we are all here to practice free will. That's why we're in physical form. To practice free will and learn self-creation. It's a true statement, is it not? No one can think a thought for you, feel a feeling for you, or hold a belief for you that you don't want. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That makes us the God of us on this plane.
Wow, powerful stuff.
And so for people who start with me and they'll say, well, I'm waiting for the guides to tell me, or I'm waiting for the angels to tell me, or God to tell me, I say to them, then you're going to be waiting a very long time.
Hey, that sounds great. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up here. Yes,
they're waiting to hear what you want. And,
well, let me say this.
We're taught from the time we can understand anything, you can't have everything you want. Don't ask for everything you want. If you ask for everything you want, you're a selfish little, Right. We're all taught that. And according to the information from my channel, we choose the families that we are born into, usually to learn what we do not want.
Yeah, this is powerful stuff.
So that,
ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take
moments like this,
right.
We can say what we do want.
All well said here. We're almost at the bottom of the hour in radio, as many people know across the world, and of course the hard break at the bottom of the hour. But Richard, stay with us. We're going to have more conversation. And Dee, this is amazing to have you here talking about this. But one quick question. We only got about 3 minutes before the hard break here, but I know you're a pro and you can do it. How does spirituality, religion, and brain science occur with each other around creating your whole life? I mean, trying to put all this into a synthesis, I think, is kind of an important question in the time allotted. Let's see how you can do that.
They're all saying the same thing. In the good book, it says, dwell only on these things, peace, love, joy, which is focus on these things. And you create more of them. Brain science says whatever you focus on, you create more of.
Yes.
The good book says, as you believe, it is delivered to you. Well, your beliefs create what you focus on, and according to brain science, whatever you focus on, you create.
Well, Dee, this is so interesting as we talk about this. Obviously, the world is at a very, and I need not remind people out there, it could be considered by many a very tumultuous place right now. So more and more of us, it's hard. It's hard for so many people. Maybe there's some people out there listening and saying, well, I've tried this and I don't know, blah, blah, blah. No. I mean, the whole concept here is being able to understand yourself, and that's what we're talking about here, in a world that has become very difficult for many people to survive. Look at all the sadness out there, T.
And I have some really positive when we come back.
No, I understand. So it's interesting. I just want to remind everybody, our special guest for this hour, and we're proud to call her a friend here on the Dr. Sky Experience, legendary actress Dee Wallace. So many different movies, of course. She played the single mom, Mary Taylor, in the epic movie. This is incredible. Spielberg's great movie that many people got to see first. Well, if you're old enough to remember, folks, back on June 11th, 1982. I have a little bit of a, I don't know what you call it, like a little facsimile of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And the story maybe you'll share with us about how they actually created the E.T. Extraterrestrial, because we talk so much on this particular archive about what? The whole concept, Mary, about, I'm calling you Mary.
That's okay.
I'm in movie role here, sorry. But no, about the whole story of the UFO subject right now. I mean, the movie itself talks about something that Steven Spielberg, as you know, from his own childhood experiences where he got this concept. But isn't that amazing, Dee, that we're still never told the truth about what's really going on with this whole UFO and UAP story? We got about a minute. You have the floor.
Well, I can tell you that most of the movies get it wrong, that Stephen got it right, that they are here to guide us. They are here to enhance us, not to demonize us. And basically, they're here as friends that cannot intervene with our free will.
Well, all dimensional things, ladies and gentlemen, but more when we come back here on the Dr. Sky Experience, talking about the great realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, and doing justice to celebrity guests this morning with not only Dee Wallace, but also Richard Dugan, Tell Me Your Story host, metaphysical, spiritual content, and so much more. 1-800-848-9222. And we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with more great information as we continue to open our minds on the mysteries of the universe. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 31 minutes after the hour, we continue to move through what we call time and space. And if you think about space-time, ladies and gentlemen, that would be a whole maybe 14-hour show. But simply, gravity is the warpage of space-time as we talk with special guests, and who better to talk about spiritual healing and what consciousness is, and the books that she writes and the things she does, is legendary actress Dee Wallace. Also joining us on the line is a good friend of ours, Richard Dugan, of a radio program and podcast called Tell Me Your Story, metaphysical, spiritual content in this rather disturbing time we live in, and how ways that we can literally align ourselves with the universe. Dee, it's always a privilege to speak with you, and I want to thank Harlan, the publicist, for helping set this up. We've been working with Harlan for years.
He's wonderful.
He's excellent. And also, just to remind everybody, your website, IamDeeWallace.com. Dee Wallace's podcast, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Conscious Creation radio show. So give us an example of some of the people that you've had on there so people, of course, can gravitate to that and listen in great detail to the things you offer.
Well, I don't have guests on my show.
Okay.
My show is devoted to anyone who wants to call in and get specific guidance and advice about where they're blocked in their life, when it started, who it started with. And again, the channel always takes me. It's interesting. We usually go back to either age 3 or age 7, when most people really get embedded in the beliefs that are blocking them. And I can tell everyone, if you keep hitting a lack of money, if you can't have a successful relationship, if you keep being badgered with health issues, go back and write down everything you were verbally taught or that was modeled in front of you. And you will find the beliefs that are keeping you from doing what you want as an adult.
Yes. Good advice.
It's really miraculous when you do it.
That's amazing. So talk about this. This is an interesting one that I'm always pondered. I mean, I have my own view, but more importantly, the listeners and yourself, the question would be this. What does it mean to have a love affair with the universe? I mean, I love it from the perspective of looking at the night sky and doing all the wonderful things that you can do in science. But from your side of the equation, let's hear from Dee Wallace.
Well, you know, the way I explain it to people is whatever you want, love it more. You know, people call me, and when I go out and speak, it's really interesting. Someone whom I've never met will come up on stage, and I'll say, okay, what do you want? I don't want to have to worry about money. Good, what do you want? Well, I don't have to be so stressed about money. Good, what do you want? This can go on for 20 minutes until they get so pissed off at me, they go, I want more money. Yeah. And I go, okay, that's the first time you told me and the universe what you wanted.
Oh, yeah, they said it. But isn't that the problem?
Saying what we don't want by explaining, saying what we do want by explaining what we don't want. We're taught that. And so, for example, growing up, we were quite poor. My dad was an alcoholic, and I witnessed my mother taking care of him and all the kids. We lived with my grandparents. My grandfather had been a very big CPA in Kansas, but by the time I came along, he had had 2 strokes, and all I witnessed was my grandmother taking care of him. My other grandfather had Parkinson's. All I witnessed was that grandmother. So my childhood brain said, women take care of men. That's the way it is.
Wow, interesting.
It took me 4 marriages to realize that I was picking men that I had to take care of so I could fulfill that belief.
Dee, this is interesting.
They weren't good men.
Yeah.
They were all good men that I had to take care of.
Dee, you're lighting up the phone lines here as we would expect
Good.
here.
I love to talk to people. Bring them on.
Let's say good morning to Tony in Clifton. You're on with legendary actress Dee Wallace and healer. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Hi, Tony.
Hi. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for taking my call. You know, Dee Wallace, it's so exciting to talk to you because all through the years that I watched your movies, and now hearing you talk about being a channel, you know, it really makes sense because no one could ever leave the movie theater. You drew us in, you took us on a journey, and really we came out being different. No matter what we saw in that movie, we were not the same. I do want to say that you always were a bit of a muse. You really wanted to bring out something in us, and often it did come out. It was so surreal. It really brought us in. And when I listen to you talking about being a channel, I feel that you are actually taking us on those journeys, Cujo, and especially that one. There's things that we have to face and go through, and you did that with us. I do want you to just comment on your love. You say something which I think is awesome, that you have to love yourself. Talk about that.
Tony, stay on the line, and Dee, of course, these are the great callers that we get here on this particular archive.
I love that.
Stay with us. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Dee.
So tell us about the love comment. You said you have to really love yourself. You know,
yes. Well, look, I'll make it real simple, and that's why I wrote the book Born, is so that everybody would have a complete formula for creation, and it's really simple to understand. Guys, who do we want to give everything to? The people we love. Mm-hmm. And yet we are taught not to put ourselves on that list. The more, it's kind of like the airplane. Put your own mask on first. Because if you don't love yourself, if you don't accept yourself, if you don't respect yourself, how can you give more to the people you love and the people in your life?
Powerful stuff, Tony. This is amazing.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And it comes out in the movies, it really does, because especially in E.T. and Cujo, your sort of caring for others was really secondary to your own survival instincts, and yet, you know, we were seeing you trying to care for others. I loved it. I love what you do. I'm looking forward to reading your books, and thank you for taking my call, Dee Wallace.
Tony, you just made my year, sweetheart, because you cannot give an actor a greater compliment than you were real and you touched me. So thank you.
That's beautiful. Tony, I appreciate you also for joining us on the Dr. Sky Experience. You always enliven the conversation here, as we like to call it, dialogue, because there's so many other types of conversation. There's debate, diatribe, and discourse, and we certainly don't really want that here, at least at this particular format. This is fascinating. You know, going back to your movie and switching gears here, that is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, I took a look at pictures of what Henry Thomas looks like, the 10-year-old boy as Elliot, So I must be getting old because he's like 57 years of age. And do you keep in touch with so many? Of course, you probably do, but in that particular case with Henry.
Yeah, the boys and I do a lot of conventions together and personal appearances, especially a couple of years ago when it was the 40th anniversary. We all went back last summer and did Drew's show and had a reunion for the 40th anniversary. So we do keep in touch somewhat more with the boys than I do with Drew, just because we travel together a lot.
Yeah. Of all the things in that movie, seriously, give us an example of the most proud moment in that movie for you. I mean, obviously you're the single mom in that starring role, but just tell us briefly, what's the most impacting thing about E.T. the Extraterrestrial that put you into movie and film history about that?
You know, there's something about that film that transcends blocks in people. And it reminds us of the truth of the power of love. I had a mother come up to my table and said, "Miss Wallace, you're a part of a miracle in my life," and proceeded to tell me about her 10-year-old autistic son. She had never, here come the tears, sorry.
It's okay. You go right ahead. Yes.
Never heard him speak in 10 years. And she took him to see the re-release of E.T. And on the way home, he said every line in the movie that E.T. said.
That's a beautiful story.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's a miracle to
Absolutely, Dee.
And that a young man came up one time and said, you know, I was like in the 3rd or 4th grade and my parents got divorced and I'm from a real small town in the South. And all my friends, even my best friend, they weren't allowed to talk to me because my parents got divorced. And that summer, E.T. came out and you were a single mom. And all of a sudden, it was okay to include me again.
Wow.
I mean, we just don't realize, and I'm talking about even the horror films. If you Google the positive effects of horror films, you will be shocked. They're great for your brain, great for your nervous system. They teach young children how to cope with fear. You know, what we do, I used to tell my acting students, you can heal more people in one day than a doctor can in a lifetime.
I believe you. I certainly believe that statement.
I mean, look at movies like Forrest Gump, you know, and The Wizard of Oz, and Peter Pan. And, you know, we hear it everywhere. We've heard it for eons and lifetimes.
Yes.
Everybody.
More with Dee Wallace, ladies and gentlemen, as we go to our last break of hour number 1. Stay tuned for hour number 2. Always great guest. More with legendary actress Dee Wallace. Richard Dugan will jump in with him. More commentary, ladies and gentlemen, and the form of dialogue. You're welcome to give us a call. We encourage it at 1-800-848-9222.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'll be right here, and you could be happy here. I could take care of you. I wouldn't let anybody hurt you. We could grow up together. Quotes from Henry and Gertie in the great film that we're talking about with legendary actress Dee Wallace as we continue here at 47 minutes after the hour. Dee, I want to see if Richard's still with us. Richard, are you still alive with us on the air? I just wanted to make sure.
I'm still here, yes.
You know, I know you had a couple of quick comments because we're almost rocketing to the top of the hour, but Go ahead. You're on with Dee Wallace, of course, and I know you had some questions or comments.
Well, I'll keep this one brief, and that is, Dee, I have gone to a number of intuitives and psychics and whatever names you want to use, but I would go to them not to get answers, but to get confirmation of what I already knew. So my question is, how important is our own intuition? And for those who haven't used their intuition, how do you get them to start doing that?
Well, we've all done it, first of all. We've all had a thought one day, oh, I should call so-and-so. And the next day they call you. That's channeling.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all had the experience of the intuition and it coming back into our lives. Really, Richard, it's like anything else. I'm a dancer. I couldn't do a pirouette the first class I took. But after studying for 5 years, I could do 5. So I work with a pendulum or muscle testing,
mm-hmm.
which both I learned from top doctors, by the way. And you have to practice. But let's go back to the basics. You have to know that you want to channel. You have to know that you want to hear clearly your guidance, your intuition, and to follow it. Right?
Let me follow up with one final thing very briefly.
Okay.
All right. It's great to listen, to hear the still small voice. We've been promoting during the Decade of Perfect Vision and the Year of Perfect Vision, 2020 and the 2020s, that people go within to listen to that still small voice. That's great. But if you don't follow the promptings, what's the point?
Absolutely.
Wow. Richard, you say it so
live
well.
It. You have to live it. And that is the greatest challenge that I see with people coming into my work is, I've studied this stuff for 40 years. And I want to say, then why do you need me? If you've studied it and you've gotten it and you know it and you're living it, then you know it.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your contribution here. But, Dee, before the clock runs out, I just wanted to have you explain to the audience you're involved currently in so many other new projects in the media. If you'd be kind enough to describe some of the things that you're involved in that people can follow and certainly watch in the video and film world.
Well, I have no belief that older actors, especially female actors, can't work in the business. So I have 5 films coming out.
Wow.
And I just signed on for 2 more.
That's amazing. Any sneak peek on what they are, or are you not able to tell us? Just curious.
Well, yeah, really, I'm not supposed to, but I can tell you that there's 3 relationship lighter movies, and then the rest of them are either suspense or horror suspense. One of them is a lovely little Christmas film, very unique little film. Another one I did with Bruce Davison and Ed Begley Jr., wonderful little relationship family film. And the one I just finished, I'm really excited about. And it's energetically, it's another Cujo.
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
even know if I could do it.
Another St. Bernard, wow.
No.
No?
It's a crazy guy who breaks into my house. Yeah, and there's a wonderful B story between my daughter and I, and I love the script. I loved working with the director. I just have really high hopes for that film. So I'm just happy with everything I'm doing, my healing work. I love doing my show every Sunday morning. I've got a great webinar coming up on the vagus nerve, which is really important in spirituality, as you probably know, Richard, because the vagus nerve takes all your thoughts and your belief systems into the first universe, which is your body.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is interesting, Dee, and Richard, I know Richard knows this, but the Dr. Sky brand does so much in Sedona, where obviously we do the astronomical part of showing the wonders of the sky, but there's so much of the spirituality conferences. Have you, or are you going to be speaking anytime there in Arizona for our Arizona friends or people across the country that may want to?
I do not have any bookings to do that yet. I have spoken in Sedona 4 or 5 times.
Amazing. It's a
beautiful, beautiful place. I love Sedona.
Oh, absolutely. From the vortexes to the mountains, it's just incredible. And not that far away from downtown Phoenix. So for all of you listening around the nation, around the world, and particularly those that may want to journey to the beauty of the Red Rocks of Sedona, it's always 24 hours a day. Every calendar month has something special. And you're right, it is a beautiful spiritual place. I want to remind the listeners, your website, imdwallace.com, and the Dee Wallace podcast, the Conscious Creation radio show, done again, every Sunday, you're telling me? Is that so we can get that?
Every Sunday at 9 Pacific time. And if you go to my website, it's on the homepage how to call in and contact.
It's interesting.
On the show.
So let's talk a little bit more as the clock goes to the top of the hour here. This is fascinating that you're talking about here. You now, and congratulations to you, you're a new grandmother. I mean, this is something fantastic. Talk about that. How beautiful.
He will be 2 years old in August, coming up. And he is, my husband of 18 years that I did the Howling in Cujo with, Christopher Stone. They named him Stone Christopher in honor of him, which I really love that.
What a beautiful story.
And, that I created my daughter the same way I'm teaching you all tonight. 6 specialists said I would never have a baby. And I said, thanks for sharing. Going to create her anyway. And it took me 6 years and some fascinating stories about how I got there. But I got her. Everybody laughed at me when I said, I'm going to stop teaching and I'm going to go to New York and be an actor. You don't know anybody. Nobody knows you. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
In less than 7 years, I starred in E.T. And why I'm telling you all this is people will try to limit you to keep you safe, oftentimes because they love you. Don't listen.
Well, that's interesting.
Follow your voice.
It's amazing. So, Dee, before the clock runs out, I got to ask you this. The selection process to be that role that you played, of course, for all time in E.T. I mean, were there 10, 20 different people that were, role-playing for that or auditioning? Just tell us a little bit about that. Because it happened for you.
The only story I know is that Stephen saw me in The Howling. He knew what he wanted for Mary, and I had gone in and read for used cars. But Stephen works very, very far ahead. He's working years ahead, usually. And so when E.T. came, they just called and offered it to me because I had the vulnerability that he wanted Mary to have.
Amazing. This is something I read. I don't believe everything I read, nor should anybody on the internet, but tell me if you know something about this, Dee. Apparently, Steven Spielberg is working on a movie that has a lot to do with extraterrestrials, but not the way we're understanding a remake, because I think your commentary was let's make sure we don't have a remake of a classic like that. But do you know anything about that as far as we end the show here in a moment?
I've heard rumors, and that's all. I wish and if I did, I'd give you a tidbit, but
I appreciate
I really don't know.
Well, here we go. We're going to try to get one more caller in here on the Dr. Sci Experience.
Okay.
We say good morning to Pam in New Jersey. You're on with legendary actress Dee Wallace. You got the floor.
Good morning. Oh, this is a treat. I always thought you were so genuine, and I loved you. My special favorite is The Howling. And
Thank you.
You just got into the role and disappeared into it. You weren't, you were the part. I just wondered, sometimes in life you try to control your life, but when you have a significant other, and you being a caregiver, as you say, sometimes there are outside forces, other significant members of families that have control over your significant partner and kind of make your life a roller coaster trying to handle it.
Okay, wait, stop.
Yeah.
They may be controlling your partner. They have no control over you unless you give them that right.
Pam, we're going to have to run here, and I hate to cut you short. This is amazing. The clock rules
Call
here.
into my show. We'll talk.
There you go. Pam, thank you. In an abbreviated commentary. More when we come back on the Dr. Sky Experience, but thank you so much, legendary actress Dee Wallace. We'll stay in touch, and blessings to you. Thank you for being with us.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
At 6 minutes after the hour, you're with me, Dr. Sky, with the Dr. Sky Experience as we move through time and space with hour number 2. Always great guest. If you're joining us, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you a lot. You can get in touch with us for what we like to call dialogue. Your questions and comments at 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. And if you'd like, of course, we encourage you to do that. Go to our podcast archive proudly with other great radio hosts and podcasters at WABCRadio.com and RedAppleAudioNetworks.com. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the people behind the scenes that are doing this. We thank Tony and Bill. They're our helmsmen. They're navigating the powerful signal of 77 WABC across the nation, the world, and out to the cosmos, I'm sure. Again, a reminder, the extension of the Dr. Sky Experience, and we're appreciative of owner and operator John Katsimatidis and the executive staff for giving me an extra 2-hour opportunity, and that occurs Saturday evenings, midnight, Eastern Daylight Time, to 2 a.m. Sunday, so we can carry on the great conversation with you, the listeners of this well over 104-year epic radio station. It's interesting as we get back to our traditional beliefs here in the subjects of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather. Many believe that Stephen Hawking's dire prediction of human extinction on the planet Earth by 2117 may be right. Why? The rapid pace of science and technology has far outrun our civilization's social and political capabilities to control them, making for a most uncertain future. The 20th century's brilliant nuclear technology created atomic weapons. The 21st century's dangers are from AI, genetic engineering, social media, and plastic pollution. And over the decade, our very special guest is here to raise awareness and urgency in humanity's efforts to confront the technological threats that Stephen Hawking warned could lead to our demise. During this hour, we're introducing Dr. Peter Solomon, a scientist, educator, successful entrepreneur, and author. His current mission, to warn the next generation about the threats posed by unchecked science and technology. After earning his Ph.D. in physics from Columbia University, Dr. Peter Solomon launched a distinguished career at the United Technologies Research Center before founding 5 companies: Advanced Fuel Research Incorporated, Online Technologies Incorporated, Real-Time Analyzers, Inc., Image Insight Incorporated, and the Beamer, LLC. The technologies included clean fuels, process measurement, radiation detection, and science education. 4 of those companies are still thriving today, He successfully sold one for $23 million that is merged into MKS Instruments. Over his career, Dr. Solomon has been awarded 20 patents and authored more than 300 scientific publications and served as the principal investigator on over $25 million in U.S. government research contracts and grants across 2 decades. Here to talk about what Dr. Stephen Hawking might have told us might be the end of the humanity is our very special guest. Good morning, Dr. Peter Solomon. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me on.
I appreciate your time, sir. Your resume is long, and I could have read more, but the point is, you, as our special guest in Hour 2 of the Dr. Sky Experience, talk about this particular warning that you have, and then we'll get into some of the details to support your own statement. Tell us more.
Well, the warning by Stephen Hawking, when I talk about that to friends and colleagues, and I say, do you believe this? And it's kind of startling that most people think it's optimistic. Mm-hmm. So if we really have until 2017 to save us, to save humanity on planet Earth, we need to start getting active in fixing the problems, fixing the threats that we face.
You're so right. But let's talk about one from the astronomical side that many people, of course, weren't around for. And we keep hearing in mainstream and legacy media, every day there's what, Doctor? Some sort of an asteroidal body that's coming close to the Earth. 2029 is Apophis, the Egyptian war god. It will pass in closer than the geosynchronous satellites. It's the size larger than a cruise ship or an aircraft carrier, and obviously 65 million years ago, none of us were here, but an asteroidal impact changed the course of the entire world. Can you imagine, Doctor, the entire climate change that occurred when something like that gave us a dark winter for who knows how long? Describe the asteroidal situation that Stephen Hawking is also in his checklist talking about.
Yes, he did. And we're thankful that our great distant ancestors, our mammals that we evolved from, lived underground and survived that impact, while all of the land-dwelling animals that didn't have such cover didn't survive. So we're here because of that.
That's amazing.
But, the asteroid danger is certainly one of the ones that Stephen Hawking worried about, but we do have an answer to that, and we've demonstrated. NASA's DART program successfully took a rocket, launched it, directed it into space, and hit a major asteroid that wasn't really going to collide with Earth, but the idea was to demonstrate that if one was going to collide to Earth, they could change its trajectory. And in fact, they did. Yes. The rocket hit the asteroid, and the trajectory was changed enough so that if it was headed for Earth, it would have missed.
Well, I just want to remind the audience, Doctor, that this particular asteroid, so they know, was Dimorphos Didymorphos, which is a binary asteroid, and the reason they chose it, they picked the impactor to hit. It's like a large kinetic, like a giant hammer, so to speak, hitting the surface of one. And tell us the rest of the story. It did indeed give a change it moved it, in so many words, and pushed out a lot of debris. It's fascinating that they can do that.
Yes, and there was enough of an impact so that, and it was far enough away, so that a little change in its trajectory would mean that if it was aimed at Earth, it would then be directed away from Earth.
It's pretty scary stuff, Doctor, because, the size, and again, we don't have time to go into all the specifics, but please, you have the floor here. That's why you're our guest. This object that eventually hit Chicxulub in the now called the Gulf of America, along the coast area of the Yucatan, allegedly 4 to 5, maybe 6 miles in diameter. And I'm just curious, imagine how long it took for the sun to shine once again. The whole planet was covered in like a dark winter for who knows how long. And that would be an instantaneous extinction for the population of Earth with the repeat that size. Very simply, right?
Well, I believe that the modern theory is that the debris that rocketed into space and then started falling back was billions and billions and billions of meteors, like millions of meteors, all raining down at the same time. The result was a huge heating of the atmosphere.
Wow!
And that is the most recent theory of what killed off the land animals. It's just the atmosphere heated up like a pizza oven, and bye-bye land animals.
Well, Dr. Hawking has some interesting points here that we need to pay attention to. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us here and you're curious who we're speaking with, Dr. Peter Solomon, a scientist and educator and a very successful entrepreneur, as we read his bio before, and not all of it because it's very extensive. His website, this is interesting, and he has lots to say about we need, in his opinion, and probably the opinion of you out there, to heed these type of warnings for the future, for the extinction, potentially, of the human race. His website, 100, the number, yearstoextinction.com. A very interesting hour, 1-800-848-9222. But, Doctor, go ahead. Before we jump onto the callers here, just give us some more of the things that could be in that nasty bag of tricks that Stephen Hawking is warning us about, that we need to do something to prevent extinction.
Well, one of his predictions was that the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think that artificial intelligence has got to be pretty high up on our list of worries, and it's a fixable problem. We just need to provide, and it has to be worldwide. We have to provide the guardrails, which will keep artificial intelligence under control.
Well, you say it so well, Doctor, because let me say this, every day, and I can't keep up with it. I mean, we have other great guests like yourself talking about this thing called technocracy, and we'll continue to do that proudly. No apologies out there because it's a subject that people want and do need to know about. But every day, right, Doctor, we're reading so many things about AI. I'm hearing the government in the big, beautiful bill, there was a whole kind of revolt in the Congress, whether it's Democrat or Republican, where originally the bill drafted said that states could not make any alteration to the the government's mandate for how, this whole AI thing was to be administered. And I don't know enough about it, but I think it was dropped out there, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the listeners know more about that, and certainly maybe you do. I'm very concerned about this, and I don't know why many people, I ask people all the time, Doctor, maybe you do. So many people, this AI thing is so great. Oh, I just love it. Oh, it's making my life so easy. But I don't know. I'm on your side on this. Keep the ball rolling on AI and the problems.
Well, it certainly is a wonderful technology. You mentioned our website, 100 Years to Extinction. If you go to the website, I would ask people to take a look at the music tab. We had a song composed by AI. The lyrics, we then modified them a little bit, put them back, and the AI produced the music and the singing to go along with it. And then we produced by hand some videos to go along with it. So I would say ask our viewers to go take a look at the music column and play the Turn the Tide music video.
Well, Doctor, we can do one better in about a minute of that entire AI production called Turn the Tide. we offer this to the listeners here of Talk Radio 77 WABC on the Dr. Sky Experience. And here we go. We can cue that up. It's a very interesting piece.
Oh, thank you very much. And
yes.
It's interesting that maybe 5 years from now, I'll talk later.
No, here we go.
A clock is ticking soft and low. 100 years is all we know. The earth is crying out in pain to stop the tyranny of technology's gain. 100 years before it's too late to control the forces that threaten our fate. Undo the codes we've written wrong and turn the tide before it's gone. Machines that think but cannot feel, they learn to break and learn to steal. A whisper echoes, who will we be? What's left of us if we can't see? 100 years before it's too late to control the forces that threaten our fate. Undo the codes we've written wrong and turn the tide before it's gone. We hold the power to destroy or plant the seeds of life with joy. The future bends with every choice. It's time to raise a louder voice.
Interesting. Well, Dr. Peter Solomon, that's interesting to put it into a musical message. And you're telling us what? That was produced by AI? And to tell us that,
yes.
That's amazing.
We have a videographer who was doing a video called The Tyranny of Technology, and he decided he was going to see what happened when he put the 5 technologies that we're worried about into Suno AI, which writes music and song, and see what happens. When he said it to me, I was just blown away.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it sounds well. It sounds, a very well-produced piece, but the deeper part of this that we're getting out of it, I am, and I hope the listeners are, is that here we are in the music world talking about something created by AI, but there's also the warning embedded in it. And I'm just wondering, Doctor, what people think about this out there. I mean, it's always the question of the hour. What do you, that is out there in cyberspace and radio land, theater of the mind, what do you really think about this? Are we hyping something here on this radio show? I don't think so. The doctor's not. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Simply this. Do you, listeners far and wide around the nation and the world, have concerns about what could be the causation of what they're, Dr. Hawking talked about? He's not with us anymore. And I think he had something good to say, right?
So my question is, in 5 years, can we get AI to write a song warning us about AI?
Right, exactly. It might be censorship, right?
Yeah.
Well, here it is, Doctor. This is something I read, and please, the listeners out there can correct me on this. I'm not reading this information. It's just from what I had talked about in other shows, that apparently some AI engine, there was a person who helped create it. And what they were doing there is that they had some way that the AI was either spying on them, and the other person who was in the room, I guess another person who wanted to play a trick on the other person who created it, said, hey, let's go ahead and just disconnect the AI and I can't believe what I'm about to say, and I think it's accurate, that the AI mentioned back that if you turn me off, I'm going to reveal about a affair that somebody's having back there, and they don't want to hear that. That'll ruin their life. Oh, my God, Doctor, this is very scary, if indeed that's true.
2001 all over again. I'm sorry.
Right. There you go, my friend.
I can't do that.
You bet. So let me go back here real quick, and sorry to cut you short here. Let's talk a little bit about your background, because you're coming to this. You don't have to do this. I mean, you could sit and retire and be on the beach all day long, right? I mean, look at your career. And again, I'm not kissing up. I'm just reading this. You obviously a PhD in physics. You're a man who knows the letters. You understand how the universe works, maybe more than some. Why your passion for this? I mean, just tell us. It must be ingrained in your DNA, obviously. Let me hear your answer.
Yeah, I think so. But the other part of it is that I've got 12 grandkids. And
that's good.
I would kind of like them and their kids to have an Earth to live on in 2017. So
2117, right? So we qualify.
2117.
Right. Also, it'd already be over if it was 2017, right? Yes.
Let me just explore the AI thing just for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
We human beings have about 90 billion neurons in our brains connected, and if we believe that our consciousness and our sentient nature is basically the chemistry of those 90 billion neurons, and it's basically just chemistry. Mm-hmm. And if we believe that, then how about looking at the modern NVIDIA chip that's got 200 billion transistors for one chip, and ChatGPT that's got 30,000 of these NVIDIA chips all connected together. Mm-hmm. Are they going to out the 30,000 times 200 billion? Or is that going to, at some point, just totally outthink a human being with a mere 90 billion neurons?
No, I mean, you bring it up in a mathematical equation. You're right. So the power of the computer is what? Logarithmically way above the scale of what the human brain can achieve. And obviously, I'm concerned about the monster in the box, not necessarily the benefactor in the box. Correct.
Right. And so that's the issue, that the programs are not written. I think there's one company that has its AI has a constitution that puts the guardrails on what it can do and can't do. This is sort of like built into our DNA, the fundamental needs for nourishment and shelter and friendship and success. We need to build that into the constitution of these AI systems so that they don't play tricks on human beings. They don't get together and decide we don't need humans anymore. We can control the robot factories and we can get all the robots to do all of the mechanical work that the humans do. Why mess around with them?
No, so, Dr. Peter Solomon, you're correct here, and this is a big scare. But again, we got about a minute before we go to the heartbreak here. But I'd just like to jump in, and we'll maybe have to save the answer in its entirety in depth when we come back. But here's the point. Then who's guarding the hen house, as they say? Who's watching the chicken coop? Who's protecting us? And then who are the people that are not in accordance with this? Not by name. I mean, I don't want you to name them on here because we certainly don't want to see lawsuits fly over a show that's trying to do good here. But, hey, stranger things have happened. But the interesting thing is we really have to be very careful. And you've just scratched the surface because when we come back, we have a whole bunch of other things that we're going to add here that you go and extrapolate on Stephen Hawking's warning about this whole extinction by the year 2117, which is not all that far away, ladies and gentlemen. And AI is just one of them. Dr. Peter Solomon, this is awesome. We'll be back after the commercial announcements here. And we'll also, as the phone lines are lighting up here, 1-800-848-9222. We'll get to Alexi in Queens and all of you on there. that want to talk with Dr. Peter Solomon about why he believes this is true, his website, 100yearstoextinction.com. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And 30 minutes after the hour, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dr. Sky Experience. Always great guest, as you tell us. Email me at just drsky@wabcradio.com. And to listen to our podcast, you tell us in the emails you enjoy it. Simply go to wabcradio.com and redappleaudionetworks.com, not just for the Dr. Sky Experience, but from all the great hosts that are here on this powerhouse radio station. Here's a special treat, ladies and gentlemen, before we get back to our very special guest. In case you're curious what happened to our Sky update, this one beams itself down to all the listeners in the New York City area, particularly in the island of Manhattan. As you know, maybe or maybe not, a special event happens a couple of times a year called Manhattanhenge. Not Stonehenge, but something interesting. On July the 12th, which will be tonight right there in the New York Manhattan area, if you are standing on streets looking from the east to the west, 14th Street, 23rd, 34th, 42nd, and 57th Street, when the sun sets at 8:22, be there early, have a pair of sunglasses, and if you want to get a picture, you would see that sun, or partially that sun, beaming itself down through the big mountainous caverns of man-made buildings. Something called Manhattanhenge, July 12th, 8:22 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. 32 minutes after the hour, we continue here with our conversation with Dr. Peter Solomon. Let's welcome our special callers here as we say good morning to Alexi in Queens. You're on with Dr. Solomon. How are you this morning?
Yes, good morning. I have a question for Dr. Solomon. Has he ever seen the movie Colossus, The Forbin Project?
No, I have not.
Tell us, Alexi.
I recommend you go first thing tomorrow to a video place and you get coffee and you watch it. This is exactly what AI portends for the human race. They build a supercomputer to defend the United States. Oh, it's impenetrable. Oh, it's got 5,000 cubic feet of this and that. It's so high-tech. Right. And it protects us from everything. And sure enough, slowly, over time, the creator of this thing learns that the computer is building a personality of its own. And so the machine becomes somewhat egomaniac and decides that for the best interest of the human race, I'm going to control you by threatening to launch atomic rockets and blow this country to pieces if you do not obey me. And Russia has a similar computer. They link up, and the whole world finished. The human race finished.
Yes, and you bring it up, Alexi. Not to cut the good doctor off here, but I got to jump in on this one. We are so close. It's incredible. Humankind created these massive arsenals of nuclear warheads. And all it takes, right, Alexi, and right, doctor, just somebody with a temper or some other nefarious thing or somebody who launches without permission. It's like, what did they say? The atomic scientist, doctor, said that the clock was almost, to a minute to midnight, which is the end of times? I mean, tell me about that. That's amazing. That's amazing stuff.
That is the doomsday clock was started by Einstein and Oppenheimer shortly after the development of the atomic bomb. I think it was 7 minutes when they started, 7 minutes to doom, to midnight, and now it's 90 seconds to midnight.
Wow.
So that certainly the nuclear, one of the things in the song and the movie that we produce, and also I have a book coming out in September called 100 Years to Extinction, and it deals, basically the idea is that it's a story of the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise is our politics and our social ability. The hare is our science and technology. The tortoise is stuck in the 19th century, and the hare is zooming ahead in the 21st century. So we had fossil fuels to start, that wonderful technology that gave us comfort in transportation. And then we had nuclear technology that's got wonderful nuclear medicines. And then the internet and social media for great communication. And then the AI, and then genetic engineering. Each of those technologies has got enormous risks to the existence of humans on Earth.
Well, let me add something here, Alexei, if you're still with us here, and I know the good doctor may know this, but the Russians have a missile, which at least I think it's real, called the Sarmat, or the Satan. It's probably the longest of one of the intercontinental ballistic missiles. It has 12 capable MIRVs. These are individual, they look like little cones that sit on the top, with easily, some say, 500 kiloton to 1 megaton weapons, nuclear warheads, that are independently capable of being targeted. So let's say, God forbid, it was shot at New York or any other place that they would shoot it at. This is serious stuff. So what do? We build more bombs to counter the other bombs. And the whole point, gentlemen, is this. I'm not a genius at this, but again, it goes back to common sense. All it takes is one bad actor or somebody who misinterprets something emotionally, and the whole thing goes up in what you're talking about, Doctor. Alexei, you get the last word. Go ahead.
If you see what happened with Trump when he go to Iran and he dropped these super bombs, not atomic, but super bombs, 16 ton, 100 ton, whatever, on the Iranian nuclear development program. The reason is he does not give a damn about them. He's not worried about them. He sends a message to the world that this is what we are going to do to you if you are a threat. Let's hope. Put this out. No, he put this out as a bold threat that any country, including Russia will not be here much longer. He's going to big revolution. I have contacts in many parts of Europe, and they're telling me the Russian people are going berserk. They have not. They killed 60 of his executive people, his top people.
You're exactly right, and some of them jump off of buildings, right? That's a suicide technology.
Yeah. So the point is, this was a signal. Trump sent a signal to the world saying, if you're going to be a threat, we don't care. We are going to remove the threat. This is for Russia. This is for China. Believe me. I hope to God in Almighty that the only nuclear war we ever have is the one with Japan in the World War II.
And in the most amazing line from Dr. Strangelove, if you haven't seen it, ladies and gentlemen, the black and white only version, that's all I ever saw. Peter Sellers plays multiple parts, and of course, George C. Scott. But there's a scene that, gentlemen and people listening, if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil the whole movie. They're in the war room, and the president, under Peter Sellers as an actor, are all arguing, the Russians and the Americans, and what does the president say in a laughable way? Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room. And that was, of course, a different sense of comedy. Alexei, thank you for your call. We're going to move forward. Dr. Solomon, we're going to now go to Robert in Suffolk. Robert, good morning. You're on with Dr. Peter Solomon.
Good morning, gentlemen. I found it interesting, your mathematical comparison between the neurons and silicon junctions. They're not the same, though.
Okay.
Bring us together on this, gentlemen. What are we talking about? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you could say that both are limited by the speed of light. Mm-hmm. Would that be scientifically correct?
Yeah.
Okay, because they're both electrical connections.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the point, and maybe I'm not hearing you clearly, Robert. There's a clicking somewhere out there in cyberspace. That's why I think I lost you. But, Doctor, did you hear what Robert was actually asking? I didn't hear that.
Well, they clearly are different. One is neurons with chemistry that makes the connections. The other is transistors. But while physically they're different, functionally they can do all the same things. So if we think that the human brain is basically chemistry, well, then we can do it with transistors, which are electrical. So one of the things, we shouldn't leave the hour without saying, is there anything we can do about this?
Oh, no, we'll get to that, Doctor. I promise you, because we don't like negativity. In other words, we can talk about disasters. We can talk about all premonitions of bad things to come, but we want to hear about positives. I promise you we'll get to those solutions before the top of the hour.
Okay.
Robert, your final comment? Go ahead. Go ahead.
So one thing about...
they are different, though.
Yeah, they are different.
There is the random factor that is in the human brain, which is not present in a programmed machine.
Well said. Biology versus computer. Brain versus AI. All kinds of stuff. Robert, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to cut the conversation short after Doctor's response. Go ahead, sir.
There was a fascinating interview on 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley was interviewing the guy who runs, I think it was the BARD program. And they were demonstrating how wonderful the AI was. And there was some fantastic stuff. And Pelley says, well, how does it do that? And the guy answers, well, we're not quite sure. Mm-hmm. There's also two surveys of experts in AI asked about the dangers, and half of them said there was sort of a 10% chance of human extinction. Mm-hmm. So I think we've got to take this idea that the AI systems can become conscious and sentient and decide their own fate and not just follow what us humans want them to do unless we put the controls in to the programs.
Robert, thank you for your participation here. Appreciate your time with the Dr. Sky Experience. You know, Doctor, this is interesting. When we come back in a moment or two from the break, I just want to have you continue on with some of the other extinctive possibilities. But on a very positive note, you're an author. And what we'll talk about, too, is the mystery, the Stardust Mystery, and the Race to the Big Bang, books of positivity for children. So this is something else that we can explore with our youngsters, that they can learn about good things that we believe in the world of science to help them become the next scientist. And who knows, maybe the next clarion call from future scientists like Mike Hawking is giving us here. This is his theory, and so much more. We got a couple of minutes before the break, so continue on, and then we'll follow up with you and other people who may want to join us. Feel free to join the dialogue, 1-800-848-9222. Doctor, tell us briefly some of the other quick things that are going on in the extinction.
Genetic engineering, absolutely marvelous. Produced the vaccine for COVID-19 in, I think, 3 months, where previous vaccines took 5 years to create. Absolutely fantastic. But one of the problems is that it is apparently dead easy to use, and a company called the Odin has a kit for hobbyists, a genetic engineering kits with full CRISPR-Cas9 technology, which is what Jennifer Doudna won the Nobel Prize for. So, are we going to see designer babies? Are we going to see new humanoid species? New bioweapons? All of
strange
these
new world. No, you're right.
A strange new world. And
Doctor, we got to take that break. I do apologize to everybody. It seems like maybe we're talking over each other, but unfortunately, with no apology. What do we know, Doctor? The clock rules. We'll be right back here on the Dr. Sky Experience.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
47 minutes after the hour. Excuse me. We continue here on the Dr. Sky Experience. Always great guests, as you tell us. Email me with your questions and comments also, if you didn't have a chance to get in the conversation and dialogue. Dr. Peter Solomon continues to the top of the hour. You were saying, Doctor, before the break, you're talking about all other things that we need to pay attention to if we're indeed going to march toward extinction, as Stephen Hawking said, possibly as early as 2117, excuse me.
21, yeah. So my book cover has I wrote a book about 3 young Gen Z, 2 sisters and a cousin, who have a trauma in the family, and it causes them to awaken. One of the sisters is kind of a geek and knows all about Hawking and his prediction, and they decide that it's up to their generation. Their parents' generation, their grandparents' generation have screwed up the world, and if the world's going to be saved, it's the Gen Zs that's got to do it. So that's what the book is about. The cover shows an evolution, the modern evolution, starting from the monkey to the great ape to the human. But then, the genetic engineering produced a super species that wiped out the humans. And then along came the robots and wiped out the super species. And then I sort of imagined the world now run by robots. They inhabit all the planets in the Milky Way and are running the world. And they meet up with another robot civilization from another galaxy. And in the discussion, they say, isn't it amazing that both of our civilizations were started by animals?
Interesting indeed. Wow, Dr. Solomon, you bring up so many good points here. Let's jump in on the callers because they rule on any show, at least on this one, the Dr. Sky Experience. Okay. We say good morning to Ron in Manhattan. You're on with Dr. Peter Solomon. How are you this morning?
Very well, sir. Good morning, gentlemen. My question is about an event that happened in November 9 of 1965. The East Coast was hit by a massive blackout, and I was 25 at the time. And I recall they elaborated on what was taking place, and you know how the media was back then, nothing like today, and the information was sparse. But they did say that there was the blackout because something out in space was coming toward the Earth, and they had to activate some kind of a ray or a system and aim it out into space to break this up and make it into particles before it hit the Earth. And everybody that I was talking to at that time, you know, we all said, gee, what is this all about? And then it came out, and nobody ever talked about it anymore. Are any of you gentlemen aware of that? And what was the outcome?
Well, let me jump in here. Ron, before the good doctor says something, I lived that experience as a child in Manhattan. I was coming out of an office, and not to stand on a soapbox, I did a lot of television and modeling at the time, and I come out of the agent's office along Fifth Avenue. And no, it happened. I couldn't believe it. As I'm a young boy, I look up, and all the lights along Fifth Avenue are going out. People are screaming in the subways. And I spent the night at the Roosevelt Hotel. I don't know how my father ever found us because we lived in Jackson Heights at the time. But yeah, I lived that experience.
Yeah.
Right, but here's the deal. It was so strange. All I can say, Doctor, is that Dr. Solomon, somebody said that there was a power transformer systems or something that failed, to go on to Ron's comment. But, Doctor, talk about this. Maybe you experienced it too, or you have a comment.
I don't know about that one, but I do know about one that happened in 1859, I believe. It was the Carrington event.
Correct.
And that is a serious threat. This is mega solar flares. We actually had a large solar flare so that the aurora borealis was visible in places like New York, where it normally is only visible in Alaska. But that event, these solar flares, there's a 20% probability every 100 years that we'll have one. Well, in 1859, it wiped out the whole telegraph system. Imagine
You're exactly right. Yeah.
What it would do today to all of the satellites and our digital system and our electrical grid. We need to be prepared. I think they do have some preparation for this, but who knows? We could have one of these that would help to create more world chaos.
Well, Ron in Manhattan here, before we let you go here, and thanks for being part of the show. Not only my story, a living testimonial to that, and so many other people experienced it, but to go back to what you were saying, no known spacecraft object was ever in my mind. I don't think the doctor, would disagree. It was basically some sort of power transmission or something by Niagara Falls that somehow got out. And it also happened again in New York City. I was there too in 1977. To all of our good brothers and sisters in the New York City area, we know I think that happened in July of 77. But again, for that one, Ron, that was weird. But you get the last word if you're still with us. Thanks for bringing us updated.
We still had another one, August 14th in 2003. What do you think of that one?
I never knew about that one. See, I'm not always on everything. But I'm a fellow New Yorker, even though I live 2,159 miles from the station. There you go. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to say one thing about something we could do in the 1960s.
Yes, we want to get.
I think the defining movement of the 20th century was the civil rights movement. That really was dramatic in the 60s. I think the 21st century, our movement has got to be to prevent extinction. We need to, like they created the Peace Corps in the 1960s, we need to create an Earth Corps to start getting the message out so that people can become aware and help to do things that will put the regulations in place and put the preventative measures in place so that we have a chance of surviving the threats that we have.
Doctor, you're always welcome here. I mean, this is interesting, and not to talk ridiculous or what everybody knows that these are the problems that we face, at least from the human side. But overpopulation, horrible wars, it's a simple thing. Some people laugh when we say, why can't we all just get along? I mean, there has to be some way in this future, because with overpopulation, I don't know. I'm a little bit on the negative side when I hear, Musk talk about colonizing Mars. I mean, as a science person myself, and I think people out there have their own opinions, a 9-month journey with a small crew, some have even signed up for one way. I think we're talking really 100, 200 years into the future to be able to sustain life, even though I agree with Hawking. He's basically saying, what, doctor? Let's get off the planet. Because we have another problem, which is what? Overpopulation. What do we have? 7.9 or almost 8 billion souls running around down here?
Yeah, but the youngsters do seem to be helping by not having so many babies.
Okay. So you get the last word. Tell us some of the positives of what we all need to do in addition to what you just said as the clock runs out.
Well, I think we have a whole bunch of, maybe there are 100 different organizations all working on climate change. I think they have to expand the message to the other threats that we have, and they have to start getting together to create one movement, to really put all, by combining, they could create enormous power in terms of getting people to demonstrate, to write their letters, to vote, to be aware, to do the education to make people aware of all these things. So I think we need to harness those organizations to put out the Earth Corps and to really try to make a movement like we did with the civil rights movement.
Well, you bring up some good points. I mean, we don't get partisan on this particular show. Obviously, if you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, or you're an independent, or maybe you're a part of another party, obviously you have a right to state your purpose and, of course, your position, and that's what we always appreciate about the First Amendment here. in the good old United States of America. But this is interesting, Doctor. I want people to know once again they can go to your website, 100 Years to Extinction, the number 100 written out, 100, years-to-extinction.com, and give it a try. Turn the Tide video, which is into a music score, you claim made by AI, which is interesting. And maybe in the future, the AI will shut off that particular music. So what? Listen to it while you can, right?
Right.
Well, I appreciate you. Look, we got a couple of minutes here, but I appreciate you, especially since you're up very early, as many people are, still on the West Coast. We're still moving through, obviously, Friday night and Saturday morning. And who knows, around the world, Doctor, or who knows who's listening out in the cosmos. You ever think of that? There may be that possibility, too, right?
Well, the book that I wrote that is going to be out in September, one of the things we do is put the whole of humanity, the humanity arc, into a DNA data storage. If we did it with modern external hard drives, we're talking about something like 30 Empire State Buildings full of drives to put the whole humanity archive. But if you do it with DNA data storage, you can put it in a softball. So one of the things we do in the book is we make the modern message in a bottle with our humanity archives, some samples of DNA, a thesaurus so that the information can be interpreted by an alien civilization, and we shoot out all of these into these little message in a bottles into the universe, so somewhere another civilization could see what we've done.
Well said, Dr. Peter Solomon. He's a scientist, an educator, and an entrepreneur, and also an author. One more time, and proud to say it, 100years-to-extinction.com. Learn so much more on his website. And I want to thank Tony, our navigator and helmsman, navigating this incredible signal, a very powerful powerhouse 77 WABC. As we say, always remember to keep your eyes to the skies. We'll fill you in, ladies and gentlemen, on our next edition in less than 24 hours as the clock at midnight turns to 2 a.m. Sunday morning with the Dr. Sky Experience. Health and happiness and peace to all.
Thanks for listening to the Dr. Sky Experience. You can hear the Dr. Sky Experience Saturday mornings, midnight to 2 a.m. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.